G'day bike riders. This week we're going to look at how safe it is riding around my hometown of Geelong in Australia. Geelong is situated about 80 kilometres to the west of Melbourne and has a population of around 200,000 people, with many more living in the surrounding area. Geelong is a very car dependent city and doesn't really offer much in the way of active transport infrastructure. There are a handful of protected bike lanes and some painted bike lanes on busy roads and some bike lanes in car door zones, but generally there is not much to really encourage people to ride a bike as a form of transportation. One of the main barriers for people riding more often is being safe and knowing you are protected from people running you over in their car. So what's it like to ride around Geelong? People who never ride a bike just don't believe you when you tell them how many incidents you have out on the roads. So here is some proof of just how common these incidents can be. I've compiled a number of incidents that I've caught on camera during the last 8 months. There have been more, but these are just the ones that I've caught and that are obvious in the shot. These are only mine, so who knows how many go undetected and are just shrugged off as a near-death experience. Let's get started with drivers failing to give way when they are meant to provide a safe space for other road users. First, we are along the Southern Bike Link, which covers Moorabool Street and Jerringap Street on the southern side of Geelong. It's just not in the thought process in Geelong that when driving one should look out for bike riders. Even when there are bike lanes and green paint on the road, this is a continuous problem. I'm a very experienced bike rider, and in many of these examples I have predicted the situation and started braking early. If I had not been thinking that the driver might not stop, many of these close calls would have been a lot closer. There are so many incidents like this, and I get one of these probably every second time I use the Southern Bike Link. Now this one is also worth talking about. This is on the grounds of a secondary school. I had just ridden to school with my daughter and left her here as I was heading off to work. The school area is a 10 km/h zone, and you may notice the stop sign for the road coming from the right. The driver just burst through the stop sign in a school at what I'm going to estimate was at 40 km/h. We had navigated busy roads and crossed busy intersections to get here, and once we got to school, we thought we were safe. You were not even safe from drivers in a school. The intersection at Little Fine Street is always hairy. Most bike riders that travel down here know they need to expect to be taken out by a driver not looking. Despite all the road markings and signs here, drivers continue not to look and pull out across the bike lane. And it's not just cars pulling out from the small side street when their mind is focused on the just purchased coffee from the drive-through on the corner. It's also from drivers turning into the side street racing to get their hands on a caffeine fix. In this one, I have a solid 800 lumen light and a flashing 600 lumen light pointing straight at the driver, a bright yellow vest, reflective tape on my helmet, but it seems I am still invisible. Although I'm talking about close calls with people driving cars today, I don't think these guys would have a permit for blocking the bike lane, and they definitely haven't provided an alternative route. But it doesn't matter anyway, as there are drivers blocking the bike lane only a few metres further up the road. This one, it looks like the driver has seen me and is going to stop, only to accelerate again after I thought the driver was going to stop. This is another one on the Southern Bike Link where it moves off onto the road onto a shared path. This is a common problem, and if I had been here 3 seconds earlier, who knows, the Bike Route Buddy YouTube channel may never have existed. According to Vic Roads, when entering or leaving a driveway or private property, you must give way to pedestrians and bicycles on any footpath, path or nature strip you cross. It's not just drivers that pull out in front of you. Good thing I wasn't driving a car along here at 50 km/h. Seems even with flashing lights, I'm invisible again. The next two are invisibility incidents. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. Did the bus driver not see me? The driver performed a close pass, ran me into the gutter, only to stop right in front of me. This happened when I was filming one of my videos. And then this second one was about 5 minutes later on the same road coming in the opposite direction, which is Roslyn Road in Belmont. This one was a bit scary. It's pretty hard for a driver to see reversing out of one of these parks. At least they were going slowly. The main problem with this is, when you see a car coming at you, your natural instinct is to swerve. In this case, I was lucky there was no car beside me. This is why it's important to give bike riders at least 1 metre on roads with speed limits up to 60 km/h and 1.5 metres on roads with faster speed limits. Alright, let's move on to the must get in front manoeuvres. I'm not sure what this ute driver gained by close passing me and cutting me off as we were approaching this stop sign, as I'm just going to ride past him again as he waits in the queue. This is a common occurrence where drivers will push past you as you are approaching an intersection or a red traffic light. It gains them nothing and just makes for a more dangerous experience for the bike rider. Alright, I want to head back to Jerringap Street again now. This one has a long lead up, but I wanted to show riding through the intersection where all the drivers would have seen me pull through the intersection before them, so they have got to know that I'm here. I saw this one happening in slow motion, so I got on the brakes early and heavily, but there still wasn't a lot of spare space. And if we watch this for a few seconds longer as I get further down the street, it happens again with another driver. What is the story here? I thought you had to give way to traffic going straight ahead when you were turning right. Did I not get seen again? Enough of the inner city incidents. Let's head out to the country where there are less cars, as that might be a bit safer. This first one is along Barrable Road near Ceres. The footage isn't that great, but there is another group of cyclists further up the road, and that ute is driving down the wrong side of the road to overtake them. The car coming the other way has to stop as it gets run off the road. But what is more astounding is that the car that got run off the road was a police car. Obviously the police have got better things to do than look out for the safety of bike riders. Here's a scary one. Sorry about the quality of the footage, but it was a bit overcast. This is along Bells Boulevard, just near the famous Bells Beach. The road is 80 km per hour and has some steep up and down hills. We were travelling at about 70 km per hour down this hill, but that obviously isn't fast enough for these two drivers. And not to worry about the two cyclists going the other way. The drivers were turning right anyway, and from the wrong side of the road. I'm not sure what they were going to do if they did get past this group of riders. Would they have pulled back into the left and braked hard in front before turning right? Here's another really scary one along Hendy Main Road. The driver couldn't keep his car on the road and overtake at the same time, nearly taking out him or herself and a group of dads out for some exercise. I wonder if the driver may consider slowing down a bit next time. And here's some advice if you're driving a vehicle with your company logo all over it. Don't call out the window and yell at someone a word starting with D and ending in head. It's pretty simple exercise to call your boss and let your boss know about it. And how about this one? It seems if you're on a bike, you're not allowed to turn right, and the driver wants to cross the double lines to get around. Just slow down for a few seconds, and it will just mean that you don't have to wait quite as long at the next red light. This bridge is pretty narrow, and there is not really space for overtaking, even if I wasn't turning right at the end of it. The bridge over the Barwon River has really poor walking and cycling infrastructure, especially heading north, as I am in this case. And following on from the turning right theme, according to Vic Roads, you are meant to give way to pedestrians and cyclists crossing the road you are turning into. This road is hard enough to cross as it is, let alone with all these cars refusing to follow the road rules. When turning at an intersection, except at a roundabout, you must give way to any pedestrians crossing the road you are entering. At roundabouts, be aware of pedestrians needing to cross, slow down and give them the space and time they need. Alright, let's have a look at one at Packington Street in Newtown. This driver tried to cut me off as both of us came out from a side street, then performed an aggressive close pass. It looks like he was so incensed by a cyclist that he just ignored the red light and barely even slowed down. And here we've got a nice corner cut by this driver, and then a blast of the horn. I'm not sure what that was for. The driver was the one that cut the corner, and I get a blast of the horn just for existing. Let's move out to Reserve Road. This extremely close pass by this RACV van shook me up a little. I was going at about 40 kilometres an hour, so the van must have been doing 60. There was a car coming the other way, so the driver couldn't pass with a safe distance. So instead of slowing down and waiting for the road to be clear, the driver just barreled on past with no regard for my safety at all. Let's have a look at the reverse angle. One wobble and I'm dead in this situation. What is ironic is at the time of this incident, RAC were running a campaign about the must know cycling rules to keep riders, motorists and pedestrians safe. Maybe RACV should start with teaching their own drivers the road rules when passing a cyclist. When passing a cyclist, motorists must give at least 1 metre distance in speed zones up to 60 km per hour, at least 1.5 metres passing distance space in zones over 60 km per hour. I've got a couple more close passes for you. This one is on the way to the Geelong train station along Mercer Street, where the bike lane just ends at the front of the police station. And another one along the Mercer Street car door zone of death bike lane, where you have to ride along the line to avoid car doors being opened in your path. But this little white car had other ideas. Speaking of car doors, here's one along Packington Street, Newtown. At least I could see this one happening as the person is getting into the car. It is much worse when someone is getting out of a parked car, as you have no idea the door is about to burst open. I just about had this video ready to release, but then the Geelong drivers delivered me this great footage about how unsafe it is riding a bike. Firstly, we have this massive truck stopped across the bike lane when the green light is on. It looks like it's about to move off, so I start to head off with the green signal, but the driver of this white Toyota Hilux thinks that he or she is exempt from giving way to bike riders and pedestrians when turning. At this point, I thought I was finished for the day, but only 200 metres further up we have another driver with a giveaway exemption permit. I wonder where you apply for one of these. In this example, I was wearing a bright yellow vest, flashing light on the rear, solid and flashing light on the front. So I just don't understand how I wasn't seen. So this looks like a deliberate act to use the car to bully anyone else out of the way. Well, that is my list of close calls, incidents, negative interactions with drivers, or whatever you want to call them. So many people say to me they would love to ride more, but it is just too dangerous. Anyone that doesn't ride a bike, which includes most of our elected officials, just do not understand how many times drivers either don't see you, don't look for you, ignore the fact they have seen you, deliberately don't give way, deliberately close past you, or approach conflict points with too much speed. All of these putting your life in danger. Safety from cars, subscribers to the Bike Route Buddy channel, is the number one reason people don't choose a bike to get from A to B more often than they do. So these drivers definitely don't help us out in this situation. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and give this video a like. I'm the Bike Route Buddy, and I'll see you out riding where there's no cars that are going to run you off your bike.